there's a a number of ways that you'll have to use that marketing research. And I see that Stephen just joined us. So I think I just let him in. Stephen, are you there? Or not? Maybe he's still there. We go.
No, my mute button is on.
Okay. Well, don't feel bad. Don't feel like the Lone Ranger. I couldn't sign in this morning because I couldn't find my telephone.
Oh, details.
I'm telling you, so I'm thinking the students probably thought I wasn't going to show up today or something. So anyway, okay, students, we've got Stephen Webster with us today. He's actually on the East Coast, so I want to thank him for joining us. It's 11 o'clock, I think, where he's at, but he won't be joining me tonight because he would be way past his bedtime at my 7 o'clock class.
True enough.
So y'all can feel lucky. Y'all get him in person. Y'all need to ask all the questions you need to ask, and then hopefully you'll be asking the ones in my evening class the last two. So Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Do I have sharing rights?
You can get them right now.
All right.
Terrific. Okay, you should have them now.
All right. Let's see. What do I have to do here? What am I going to do? Okay. All righty. Well, thank you very much, Professor Martinez. This is a twice a year thing that we do with you, with meeting with all your students, which is always good fun for me because it's great to actually get FaceTime with students. So what we're talking about are our healthcare scenarios. And in this particular case, it's these are healthcare scenarios around healthcare marketing. And hopefully you are seeing my screen. Are we good with that?
Yeah. Yes. Now I'm muted. Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Terrific. All right. So this is the beginning of the healthcare scenario, and what we do with the scenarios is it's a combination of scenes and information that makes a case study come to life for you as the students. We end up presenting you with 4 different scenarios of circumstances where you are going to need to be the you're going to have feet on the street, and you're going to have to come up with solutions and suggestions that will work for the particular institution. In this particular case, it's Bright Road Healthcare Systems. So this is the beginning of the scenario, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through how everything works and what you're going to be doing here. So we're going to continue here, and we're going to meet with Blake Hines. And she's going to talk to us here. And I just want to see, hopefully I can turn on my sound and we're going to hear what Blake has to say.
Thank you for meeting with me. I know you're meeting with Amit, our marketing director, after this, but I wanted to give you an overview first before you dig in with him. I have an important marketing project that I'd like you to work on. We're looking at ways to expand our online marketing presence to reach a larger audience.
So now you are presented with 3 different responses here. Depending on the question and the circumstance, it could be that there is a definitively right answer. It also could be that all of the answers are equally right, and all of them need to be dug into. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick a choice, and we're going to pick that first one, and she's going to respond.
Well, we currently have a website and a social media page, but we don't feel these are being utilized in the best.
So I'm going to interrupt Blake's discussion. And so you work your way on down through the scenario by clicking on the various responses and providing your response to what the person that is on the screen is talking about. Now is probably a good time. We can click on the menu, and you can see the various pieces of the scenario. So the first one is meeting with the CEO, and that's scene 1. And then we've got scene 2, meeting with the marketing director. And I'm just going to kind of jump ahead to that particular scene. And we're going to see that we're going to be meeting with Meet Patel, the marketing director, and we're going to talk about what's going on there. And
Hi.
here is Amit.
It's nice to meet you. I'm glad you'll be helping us.
You don't need to listen to all the things that Amit has to say. So as you work your way on through, scene 3 is actually getting an email from Amit, and you're going to get a fictitious email. It's not truly an email, but here it is, and you're going to be gathering information here, and there are some dummy sites. There's a dummy website and some dummy social media information. Again, that's going to be stuff that you're going to need to include as you work through the various pieces of the case study that you're going to be working on. Ultimately, there will be a quiz, and I always do very poorly when I do these quizzes. And it's simply a matter of starting the quiz, putting your name down, and answering each of the quizzes, each of the quiz answers. And in order to get this done, I have to actually do these questions. You'd think I would get them right after all these years of doing this, but I never do. You can take this quiz as many times as you want, and Professor Martinez may have some opinion on how she wants you to handle this. But as you work your way on through and you answer the questions, and there are 10 of them, I got that one right. I'm very excited. And I got a whopping 40%. What you can then do is save the results, and that when you click on Save Results, that will create a PDF with your responses. And then depending on what Professor Martinez wants you to do, you may be submitting that over to her. Professor Martinez, you want to ring in there? I can't remember what you want them to do.
Yeah, once that saves a PDF, there's a spot in the Dropbox for you to upload it. It says navigate 1-1 or whichever one you're on, answers to questions or something, or questions, maybe just says questions. There's 2 different places in the Dropbox for each of the scenarios. One is for your answers to the whatever task they assign you to do, and then the other is just to upload the PDF of these questions.
So clicking on Save Results moves that on forward. And the next piece is going to be your recommendation. Now, we create a faux environment for this recommendation. And Professor Martinez, however, would rather you not use this particular interface, but to take the exercise that you're going to see right here and do that in a Word document or a Google Doc document or something along the lines where you can actually write and edit and carefully work your recommendations. So I don't know about you, but if I'm writing 500 words to somebody as important as Amit Patel, I'm not going to do that in one shot. I'm going to write it. I'm going to let my brain wander a little bit. I'm going to rework it and edit it and tune it up before it's done. And that's the document that Professor Martinez wants you to upload into the Dropbox. And I think there's a separate place for that specific recommendation.
Correct.
And so when you click continue, you're going to see this faux email. Do not do the work here. Do the work in a Word doc or some other word processor. And that's the document that you're going to send to Professor Martinez in your LMS. And then you're going to click this faux send. And again, that does not actually send an email. It's just a pretend interface. And ultimately, here is view, save your results, and that's going to include my faux answers and my quiz questions. And that's going to be sitting right there. It's a pretty cool interface. It brings things to life. And takes them off the page and makes the situation far more real than just kind of reading stuff in a book. And that's the whole idea between these around these scenarios. Professor Martinez, anything that I've missed that I usually cover?
Yeah, can you tell them about how they can read it if they, the transcripts available where
Yes.
they can, and about how they can save it if they can't watch the whole thing at one time?
Yes, an excellent point. Okay, so here within the environment, you can go to menu, and you can see the transcript. And that transcript is going to provide you with all the players that are in the program, and you're going to be able to see the text of the questions, and you can read that information and gather that stuff if you want. You can do it side by side if you'd like, and you could print that PDF. When you close this, you can save your results, and it will bring you back to where you left off if you were partway through things. Although generally you can probably get through each scenario in one sitting, at least to the point where you are starting to work on your recommendations or whatever the key deliverable is. Closed caption is up here in the upper right, and you can toggle that on and off, and you can move, go to a previous scene or the next scene, depending on where you are in the scenario. Questions? Things that
they might have a question about, most of them have just now gotten hold of the numbers to sign in,
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of, if they're having issues, I know used to I'd have them call that other group, not y'all, but y'all do all your own tech stuff now, right?
That's correct. Yep. So if you have any questions for, we can go here here is a phone number and an email address for tech support. And I'll copy that and I will pop that into the chat so that you can all grab that.
And is that like 8 to 5 or Monday through Friday?
8:30 to 8 Eastern time.
Okay, so that would be 5:30 to 5 our time.
5:30 to 5. Yep.
Okay. Okay, y'all make a note of this. Okay, and do you know right off the hand, because I've had several questions in years gone by, like they get what they buy typically is your package combo with the ebook and the Navigate 2, and there's 2 different number sets. And, sometimes they end up getting different lengths of numbers, like 10 and 14 or whatever. Do you have any idea, or is it different from time to time, which one belongs to Navigate? How many numbers typically signs you in?
So there are going to be 2 pieces to the puzzle. There's going to be an access code that you purchase, and that is that's a numerical 10-digit number. And in addition to that, there is a course ID, which will put you into Professor Martinez's class. That is going to be a 6-character an alphanumeric code.
Okay, and I don't use the course ID.
You don't use the course ID? Okay.
No, I just have them click through. Yeah.
Okay, so you can launch the open enrollment course. You don't need to worry about a course ID.
Right.
But yes, the access code is 10 digits, and it's a numerical code.
And is that for the Navigate and the ebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to go here to redeem the code right up here.
We're not seeing
code. You're not seeing it. Okay.
We're just seeing, all we're seeing is the picture of the Navigate.
Okay, that's obviously, then I need to change my share. My apologies. Let's do something a little different. So you'll go here to the JBL My Account page, and you can redeem an access code either right here or in the upper right where it says redeem code. So you're going to click on redeem access code, agree to that, and then enter the access code. You can see all the ones that I've redeemed earlier. Not that they're going to do you any good because they're all redeemed.
Okay.
Terrific.
I guess. All right, students, do y'all have any questions? Have y'all tried it and had any trouble? Any questions that Stephen hadn't covered today? This is usually a pretty vocal group. I don't know what's going on.
It's still early in the morning. I get it.
Anybody? We've only got him for a minute or two more.
Hi, Stephen. Good morning.
Let me see. I could start calling names, I guess, and see if y'all are awake.
I think they'll. I think this bunch is not going to be shy if they actually have questions.
Can you
they'll ask them.
excuse me? Can you buy the code by itself, or you gotta buy the book as well to get the access code for Navigate 2?
So you can buy either the book and we have a couple of different packages. Let me go over here and show you what those are. And Professor Martinez may have, and I'm not sure what book is it that we're talking about?
It's that one, the green one.
Essentials of Healthcare Marketing?
Recent edition, yeah, the most recent edition.
Okay.
I don't remember if that's the most recent one. The problem arises is that we get a pretty good deal on the ebook, and the access code is like $69. And when you buy just the book, I think it's $49. So I think I'm correct about that. So for $20 more, you get the book. Am I right about that?
That is correct.
Okay.
So if you want to buy the book, want a book, as in you want something to curl up with on the couch, you can certainly buy that. And when you do that, you get access to the digital book as well. That's more costly. That's $114.95. That gets you the book and the scenarios. And you can also buy just the book and the scenarios digitally at $69.95, and that's the best price that we've got offered. And then the best price are going to be available here on the JBL website. You can buy things through the bookstore. I can't speak to whatever markup they may be doing or not doing. That's kind of their business. We're not allowed to get in the middle of that.
It's the same price.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good for them.
Maybe even a little bit less, but it's basically right in that same range.
Oh, good. Let's just say there are some bookstores that mark things up significantly more than we do.
Right.
And we have no control over that.
And the bookstore does have them. I called yesterday, and there was some issue some students were having because there was nothing on the shelf, but it was just a shelf. It was a logistical issue, not a lack of book issue. So
anyway. I will post here into chat the ISBNs. Whoops, if I can type out, I will at least. There's the ebook in the scenario and the paperback.
Okay, any other questions, students? Because he's the man to answer them. Because in most cases, I'll have to tell you, you're going to have to call the tech department because I don't know the ins and outs of it. I just know the end result. So, any other questions?
So once we redeem the access code, we would get access to the book and the navigation thing?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. You will see. Let me just pop over to my account. My account is going to be far more cluttered than yours will be, because I have all these other courses that I'm demoing. So there will be a listing for that particular title right here on your My Account page.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 1 second here.
Everybody
Terrific.
good?
Well, I wish you all well. Have a great term, a great fall, and I'm sure if Professor Martinez's history is any example, you're going to enjoy this class tremendously.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and I appreciate your coming and visiting with us, and I hope you have a great day. I know you're considerably cooler back there where you're at than we are
yes,
here.
we are.
So.
We've got the beginnings of fall in New England.
It must be very nice because we have.
Okay, all right, so that gives you an intro to now I know y'all couldn't see the chat room, so I'm going to get that information for y'all. I think it's probably in that, the card that you got has got the information, but if not, I will get that information about the tech line and that you can call and the email so that you can, if you do have issues, and I will get hold of that today and email it out to you. Has anybody had trouble so far redeeming or getting the book or any kind of issues? Is everybody awake?
I'm having a little bit of trouble. I don't know if I may be doing something wrong, but you click the redeem access code, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do we need, and then we don't enter our course code? Is a code supposed to pop up right there?
Yeah, what you do is when it asks you for the course code, just hit return and click right through it, and then you'll get to the open access, which is all you need, the navigate scenarios, and it'll show you a list. And can't remember what the first one is, but whatever's in your syllabus tells you what the first one is. You just click on that.
You said to click return when it asks for the access code?
Well, when it asks you for the course ID, after you redeem it and you click into it and asks you for the course ID, just keep clicking. You know, not return, just keep clicking. I don't know what it's called on the keyboard. You know, I'm the old school. Just keep clicking until you get to the navigate. It's not going to force you to put a course ID in.
Oh, okay.
If it gives you, they change it every semester. If it gives you a choice that says course ID or open access, then choose open access. But typically you just have to keep clicking and you're fine. Okay?
Okay, yeah, you click on, do you click on the nav, because when I click on the redeem access code, that's kind of in that right-handish corner.
Uh-huh.
Do I click on that first initially? Do I just click
Yeah,
on
you click on the redeem. You want to redeem it first. And then after redeem it, a page is gonna you pop up, and I don't know if you've already typed in the access code or not, but as soon as you get the access code into it, you know, you've redeemed it, then it's gonna ask you, do you want to go to the my course, the course ID, and you don't have to say no or anything. You just click, and it'll automatically take you to the open access, or it should.
Okay, that page isn't opening up for me, so maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Has anyone already done it? Redeemed their stuff and not had any trouble in the class? Oh, come on, Eric, how about you?
I did it through their actual website, the one that Steven just showed us, just because I didn't want to run into any issues.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you redeemed it though, were you able to just click through?
Yeah, it was it took like a minute at most. Yeah.
Okay. If Emma can't get hold of it, would you mind helping her out if she sends you an email?
Yeah, no, we're in the same group, so yeah, absolutely.
Okay, super. Okay, Emma, if that doesn't work, then you let me know and I will get hold of somebody and get you a call back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You bet. All right. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So what I want to do now, I don't usually do this, but because he's not here in person, I'd like to give you all that extra boost up. So let me get to an example of what it's gonna look like when you turn in the questions, so you all have an idea. Give me 1 second to pull that up. see. Not sure. Do I have to share screen with y'all? All right. I'm going to go back to last semester, and pick out a student. Hopefully I'll pick out one that did well on it. Let's see. All right. All right. All right, I'm going to share a screen with y'all so I can show y'all exactly what you need to do. Okay, as you're looking at this, you see where it says scenario 1, proposal answer, and scenario 1, questions. The first part is the questions, and that's the questions that he showed you on the video where he answered them and got a 40%, you know. So what I'm going to do now is just show you what that will look like. And I'm going to, let me click through here and just pick one out. All right. Hopefully I'll pick one that did it right. Let's see. Oh, wrong one. Hang on. That was the answer to the question. I clicked on the wrong one. All right. Okay, questions. And so what you're going to do is after you take it, it's going to give you the opportunity to download it. And you can submit as a PDF. That's the way it downloads. And what you'll have is this. This is what it's going to look like. And it'll show the questions, and it will show at the top, it'll show the parts that you've completed. And that's all you have to do is upload that for full credit. If you don't make 100%, that's okay too. You can, but it does allow you to keep taking it until you do make 100%. So everybody, you know, should be able to make 100%. So that's the first part of it. And that's where you're going to click on the one that says answers. Let's go back here. Okay, so this is scenario 1 questions. So you're going to do the questions. It'll be automatically sent to that at the end of the scenario. It's going to offer you the opportunity to download. You're going to download it, save it, and upload it under the one that says scenario questions as a PDF. The other part is of the assignment is at the end of the, get back over here so I can look at y'all. Okay, so at the end of the navigate scenario, she's going to say, she's going to give you a task to do. And that task is, I don't know particularly which one that is to answer that question, but she's going to say something like, our emergency room is not doing well. What can we do to fix this situation? And so you're going to, the program will tell you to type it in that email. Do not type it in that email format. I hate that thing. What you're going to do is you're going to type it on a Word doc, and you have to have a cover page, and it's going to have to be APA formatted. You do not need references, but it does need to be double spaced, and it needs to be indented. And so, good grammar. And what you're going to do is you're going to answer her question. Now, there's a little wiggle room here, but there are certain points that you should have picked up on during the scenario and things that you've had in your past experiences and common sense. So, for instance, if you're trying to, if she's saying that the waiting room is kind of out of date, and I don't know which one this is, but there's one of them that talks about waiting rooms. It's kind of out of date. People are not, you know, the number of people using it has dropped. So what can we do to fix it? Well, the first thing you might say is that you need to beef up the waiting, and better wording, of course, but you need to improve the waiting area. And then you give examples of what you could do to improve it, you know, like perhaps add a TV, you know, or whatever there happens to be. So think outside the box. Then you think about other things that may have been, you know, bad for that waiting room. Like maybe people that are working there are rude, you know, but the scenario gives you that information. So you have to listen to it. And also, I think he showed you, there's a way in the menu bar of the scenarios that you can actually look at the transcript of it in case you need to go back and just read it instead of just the watching the video. But it's really great to watch the video. Then you can download the transcript, you know, to help you out with the answers if you like. Okay, so it's clear now. The questions get added to the where it says questions, and it's a PDF and it's a copy of the questions that you take. Be sure you take that opportunity to download it and then upload it to the Dropbox. The other is a Word document. That Word document must have a cover page, and it needs to be APA formatted in that it's the grammar is well done, and the indent, double space, all those things that go along with APA. No references are necessary. Okay, do I have any questions? I used to make it due on Thursday because you don't have class on Thursday, but I changed it because various reasons. But now everything is due on, I think I just knocked some out of this class. Let's see. Everything is due on Sunday, which is the, as far as your two things, the questions and your answer to her task that she gives you. Do I have any questions? You know, I'm always available. If you have questions about it, just text me, email me. If you don't get a response right away, then text me again or email me again. Typically, I answer pretty quickly. Anybody? We good so far? This is recorded, so there'll actually be a recording of the recording. So I will try to get it uploaded today if you need to see that recording again. The bookstore does have the books. You do have to have the, you do have to see the scenario in order to answer the questions, and in order for you to do your, answer the questions and to do the second part of the assignment. You can't share it because your name has to be on it. And so if you bought a used book, you can't use the used scenario. You have to have that. Okay, and the bookstore does have them. And what you have to go to the bookstore, they will mail it to you, but if they mail it to you, you will not have it in time for this assignment. So they won't give it, they won't let you, they won't download it, email it to you. Even though it's just a card with the number on it, they make you come to the bookstore to get it or mail it. The other alternative is like Eric. I assume they email, Eric, did they email you the code when you bought it from Jones Bartlett?
No, there's not even like a code involved. It kind of just does it automatically.
Really? Okay. So you just pay for it and it appears there?
Yeah, basically.
Boy, they make it seamless, don't they? Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe I need to look at that. I didn't realize it's that seamless. Good. Okay. All right. So that's that gives you an idea of what your assignment is. I do want to make a comment. If you notice on the syllabus, we do not meet again in class until February 28th. You have this time between now and then to work on y'all's group projects, to take care of the scenarios. This is a hybrid class, so the next 2 weeks are for y'all to work together to get your group project done, and everything else you need to do to get a head start on what else is going on in this semester. Okay, do I have any other questions at all? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit the high points. It's 8:40, so let me pull up the chapter 5. Give me 1 second. Eric, when is the first meeting for the, I know you sent me a message, but I can't remember, for the UPD HCA?
It is currently scheduled for next Friday, the 17th.
At 7 o'clock?
Yes, via Zoom.
Okay. Students, I will give extra credit for attending that meeting. So, Eric, what is the plan? What is the agenda for that meeting?
It's basically just an introductory meeting, showcasing kind of what we have planned for this semester, especially since it's graduation season. But yeah, more information will be released this week.
Okay, super. All right, so students, I will be giving extra credit for that. They will have a sign-in sheet. Be sure that you sign into the sign-in sheet, because then the secretary or the membership, someone provides me with that sheet, and I give you 2 points extra credit for going to that. And they'll have other activities too that you'll have the opportunity. Last semester, I think I ended up giving, I don't know, 10, 12 points of extra credit overall. So take advantage of these opportunities, because if you're on the edge of an A and a B or a B and a C, then that may be what'll push you over to the next grade. Okay, so we're looking at marketing research. A lot of research has to go into a good marketing campaign, because if you just kind of decide, oh, I'm just going to throw a picture out there, you don't know who your target group is, your target group doesn't know what you offer, you don't know, you're just spending a lot of money and basically spinning your wheels. So you got to research, you got to figure out what is it that you need to boost your company. And advertising is a whole lot different than marketing. Marketing is the whole ball of wax, whereas advertising is just one component of that. So we need to look at the issue at hand. And when you're looking at problem recognition, you're looking at, it's actually the definition of the problem. And it's usually involve both the management and the clinical personnel, because if you don't, for some reason, one hand doesn't always talk to the other. And I don't know how many of you ever used to watch or have seen the show. It's got Dick Van Dyke in it, and he's a doctor. And I cannot believe I'm blanking on the name of it. Murder. Anyway, they have it's one of the few shows that actually has a hospital administrator in the show. And in the show, it shows him going, like constantly badgering them about filling out forms, about, spending too much money, about going out and getting donations. So, a lot of times your management and your clinical personnel are not on the same page. So when you get ready to launch a marketing campaign, you need to get everybody on the same page. Otherwise, it's going to be a constant struggle. After you've identified what the problem is, then you're going to have to identify some research objectives. So there are 4 types. One of them is exploratory, where you need to determine what is that cause of that problem. Why is nobody using our emergency room? Because, it could be a number of reasons. It could be maybe a AM/PM clinic moved in across the street, one that stays open late. Maybe another hospital has beefed up their emergency room that is in the 2-mile radius. Or maybe, you've just got the lousy help in there. People that don't care or rude, make people wait forever. Somebody hacks them off, so they just politely put them to the bottom of their list and they're sitting there for hours and hours. Maybe you're understaffed, whatever it happens to be, but you have to find out, what is the cause of the problem. And then you need to have a description. Like the descriptive way is, what are their new issues or markets? What's going on that might be cutting into your business. So, that's another way, another part of identification of your research objectives. Then you can have an hypothesis. Well, I think it's because, this new hospital moved in, a block away. with an emergency room or something along those lines. Then you test the hypothesis. And then you predict, what is it going to be like if we do this, this, and this, what is it going to be like? Or you predict the demand for service. And that's one of the most difficult things, is to predict the demand for service, because you're going out there and you're doing the research and you're figuring out what is it that your target group is going to need or want in the next 3 years or a year or 6 years or whatever it happens to be, whether it's a short-term goal or a long-term goal. And that's one of the most difficult things, because you really have to look at all the market markers to see what is the demand going to be and what's available in the market area around you. What's your competition providing? Because the best way to beef up your market is to figure out what your competition is not providing, and then you provide it. Okay, so I just, excuse me, went over these, basically encapsulated the ones that we've, that these are talking about. You've got, let me move on to the next page. Okay, so this, when you're looking at a research design, if you took statistics, and you did, everybody had to take the basic statistics class. So, they talked about research designs, and you make a plan for the entire study. And then you have to talk about, well, how are we going to, what data do we need, and how are we going to collect it, and then how are we going to analyze it? You need to, in statistics, you need to have a plan, because people who fly by the seat of their pants, basically, what happens is that they start looking at the data and they think, this data seems to be showing whatever. And maybe it has nothing to do with what they were looking for, but they change their hypothesis basically midstream so that it will agree with the data. And that is unethical. What you need to do if you're looking for a plan, or you're looking for information that data is giving you, you need to have a plan ahead of time. You need to say, I believe that the issue is that we have too much competition, or whatever it happens to be. And then you go and you collect the data and you see what the data says. Maybe that's not the case at all. Maybe you have a lot of competition, but that's not why they're beating you out. They're beating you out because you got lousy service, or the room people is too slow, or whatever it happens to be. Maybe it's, in a bad part of town, or, or maybe you need better security, or, there's a lot of reasons, and then necessarily the competition. So you can't just look at the first answer. You need to look a little bit deeper to really know. One of the things that the book talks about are primary and secondary data. This is really important. You will see this probably. There's several questions about it on the quiz. Primary data is data that you collect yourself firsthand. It's data that you go out and you give a survey, and you get that survey, and you analyze that data. Secondary data is data that was collected by somebody else that you use. And a lot of research is done using secondary data. Can anybody give me an example of what a great secondary database might be? Anybody? Every 10 years, what happens?
Census.
You got it. Absolutely. The census. And when the census, you would not believe all the stuff they collect in the census. When you answer those questions, you think to yourself, where did they get this data? But it's all built into the census. It's pages and pages and pages long. And they take that data and they synthesize it, basically. And but it is not easy. It's not just a database sitting out there and you can ask it user-friendly questions. Now, it's gotten better over the years, but about, 12, 15 years ago, I was running $1 million grant at the University of Houston, and they wanted me to use that data. And so they sent me to Washington, D.C. for a week to learn how to use that data, because it wasn't user-friendly. You had to know the right questions, you had to have the right software, everything, it wasn't just, let me just pull it up and choose some numbers. So now it's gotten better, but for the most part, if you're using secondary data, then you have to know how that data was collected. You have to know, that it is, that it wasn't biased, and the census data is not. So that's one great place to get information. But it's not that easy. You do have to learn how to use that data. We've got a speaker coming in to speak to us in March who has a company called SpeedTrack. And that is an incredible mass of data. They've got a contract with the hospital, so it's almost real time. And he'll show you that you can just ask that data anything. It's very user friendly, like how many people were treated for stab wounds on New Year's Eve in the central Los Angeles area. And within seconds, that data will pop up and tell you just how many by county, by city, by hospital, by state. So it's really, and you have to be a healthcare unit, and that uses that, and there's a charge for it, but a lot of hospitals use it because it's an incredible tool for planning. So he'll talk more about that. But that is secondary data. It's been collected by somebody else. Okay, so again, here's the information on primary data. Now, there's two kinds of analyzing. You can do qualitative and you can do quantitative. Does anybody remember from their statistics classes what quantitative data is when you're doing quantitative analysis? Nobody wants to jump in there?
Something that you can count.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Is it something that you can count or measure?
Yeah, absolutely. It is mathematically driven. Very good. Quantitative is numbers. Like if you have, let's say you have a survey and said that it was all Likert type scale, and choose a number between 1 and 5 as to how much you love this class, and of course everybody would choose a 5, right? So so that can be quantitatively analyzed. So you could put that in a program like SPSS, which is statistical package for science software, scientific software, something like that. Or you could use Minitab, or there's a number of types of programs that you can use. You can do it in Excel. But what you're doing is you can quantitatively analyze it. You come up with a number that you can have means, you can have medians, modes, you can do t-tests, all kinds of stuff with numbers. Now, what's left is qualitative. And qualitative data is when you go out and you survey people and you ask questions. And it's considered richer data, because if someone gives you an answer to a question, then you can say, well, I don't really understand. Can you expound on that? So you get more data that it's just richer. You get more information than you do with numbers. Now, the Texas A&M, when I went through, was strictly a quantitative university. They really hadn't come up with too much qualitative. So I personally haven't been exposed to a lot of qualitative, but it's what researchers now are going to, because they get more information about the data. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do a mixed methods. So first they'll do the quantitative part, and then they'll do select ones, and they'll follow up on the quantitative. Now, there's a lot of problems that walk hand in hand with the qualitative, and though it is a great way to collect data, it's expensive, because you either have to be one-on-one, so you have to pay people to do the interviews, or you're in focus groups. Again, you have to have someone controlling it. So it tends to be more expensive. When you're analyzing qualitative data, it is also different. They do have software, but what the software looks for is, let's say that you interviewed, for instance, when I was running the grant at the University of Houston, I interviewed principals, successful principals, minority principals, successful minority principals, and asked them a series of questions about their journey to get to the position they were in. what kind of trials and tribulations they faced along the way. Then I would take, let's say I interviewed 5 people, because your data, your set of data is much smaller, because you can have hundreds in quantitative, hundreds of surveys, and the computer just zips it right out. In qualitative, you maybe have 5 to 10, because you don't have enough time or enough money or enough, to interview hundreds of people. And then you take the interviews, all of them, and you upload them to software like In Vivo. That's one of the most common qualitative software analyzers. And what it does is it looks for what's called common threads. And those common threads are things that appeared in every interview. And the software is smart enough to realize, it won't be the same wording, but it'll realize the things that are common among all the interviews. And that's how you start making assumptions on what would be a common problem or a common issue or a common whatever it happens to be. Because let's say all 5 people that you interviewed, it popped up with this common thread. Maybe, everyone struggled because they felt like that there was hidden racism, or, there's any kind of common threads that may be running through. Okay, so again, that talks about primary data. Secondary data, we're looking at data that's been collected by somebody else. And there are companies that actually go out and mine, they call it mining the data, mine the data like for the Census Bureau or wherever else you happen to be getting your numbers from, and then they sell it to you. So if you don't have somebody that you can send to Washington, D.C. to learn how to get the most out of the Census Bureau data, then there's these companies, for a price, of course, that you can tell them what you want, what you're looking for, and they will pull that data for you and hand it to you in a nice little package tied up with a bow. And then all you have to do is use those numbers. And if you pay a little more, they'll actually run the analysis for you also. That is, as an outside consultant, very expensive. Okay, this just shows different ways to collect, and this is in your book. As you can see, it's divided out, the data sources, between primary and secondary. Primary can be quantitative or qualitative. Secondary can be online, commercial, where you get it from somebody, or it can be internal data that's already been collected by someone within your company. And then with quantitative, it can be surveys, or it can be experimental research where you actually conduct the research. Notice qualitative drops all the way down. There are so many ways to get qualitative data in today's world. There's a lot of people that are going onto the social media sites and using that to get their data. Personal interviews, focus groups, and then just observing. If any of you can think way back, the best example I can think of observing is when you were in high school or junior high or elementary school, maybe somebody just appeared at the back of your classroom and your teacher said, oh, they're from Texas A&M University and they're observing and they're watching to see what's going on in the classroom. A lot of experimental type classrooms actually have closed off rooms with with glass, so you can watch through there. That's and it's two-way glass, so people don't even know you're there. Because what they found is a lot of times if someone is in the room observing, particularly in classrooms, the students tend to behave differently. They may be better, but more than likely they're worse. I know when I taught junior high, I used to threaten them with their lives. If I had the newspaper coming in or anybody observing, that if they misbehave, they would live to regret it for months. So, but students do tend to act out, particularly the junior high age, and try to get attention. Okay, these are just some of the types of qualitative data. The Nielsen reports, the medical mystery shoppers who go and pretend to have some sort of ailment or pretend or try to get an appointment or whatever it happens to be. And then cameras. People are also analyzing what's going on because so many places now have cameras. people have cameras on their homes, that they're watching what's going on. There's cameras everywhere. There's very little that you can do in today's world that's not going to be seen somewhere on a camera. And then they have virtual focus groups, both synchronous and asynchronous, personal interviews, and then social media. All these are ways of collecting qualitative data. Okay, do I have any questions on qualitative versus quantitative? I'm going to stop sharing and give y'all a chance to talk. Anybody have any questions on the differences? Because it's really important that you know the difference between primary or qualitative versus quantitative and primary versus secondary data. Because that's something when you go on to take the research class, I think it's, I'm not good with numbers if I'm not teaching it, but I think it's 468 or I can't remember. One of those classes that you take that has research, and you need to be very, aware of the difference between primary, secondary, and quantitative versus qualitative. And I see a question here in the chat. Let's see. 465. Thank you. I could not remember the number. If I teach it, I remember it, but after that, it just kind of leaves me. So when you said, has anybody taken show of hands 465 yet? Anybody? Thumbs up? Okay. Did y'all talk about different types of data collection? Let me see. I don't always pick Emma. I always pick on Eric. So let me try Emma. Did y'all talk about quantitative versus qualitative?
Yes, we did. The professor does do a very good and thorough job of explaining it. You just do have to make sure that you're attentive during classes and just paying attention. But she does a really good job. But yes, we do go over that, definitely.
Super, super. So this is like an intro for those of y'all that haven't taken it. I used to teach that. Eric, is your hand up?
Oh, my mistake. No.
Okay. I used to teach the statistics class in the other department I was in, and it's really important that you, even though you might think, oh, when will I ever use this? But it's really important that you have a basic understanding, because when you get, whether you're in marketing when you start working or whatever you happen to be doing, you're going to have reports that you're going to have to look at. And those reports, you need to understand what you're looking at. You can't just assume that those reports were done ethically. And I can give you a great example of that. I just want to kind of do a side to help y'all realize the importance of understanding data and where it comes from. There was a report done one time, and I think it was the California Department DPS. And what they did was they did a survey on how many, what color cars got the most tickets, speeding tickets. And so what they did a survey, and they said, by and large, red hot rods, red sporty cars get the most speeding tickets. Well, that may be true, but the way they collected the data was they went to an area where that's mostly what they had was sporty cars, as opposed to your typical place where people drive, Hondas and Priuses, and they went to a very high-end area where they had a lot of those kind of vehicles, and so the data was skewed because where they got their data was not random. So even though commercially it made a good story, it wasn't really solid data. It was years and years ago, and so you need to be careful that all the data you collect is randomized. The news media tends to really sensationalize things like, data says or statistics say or whatever that, 9 in 10 people are going to, get run over by a bus or whatever it happens to be. Then but when you see something like that, don't just immediately think, oh my goodness, there's a 9 in 10 chance that I'm going to get run over by a city bus or whatever it happens to be. Look and see what they did to collect the data. Don't just believe what you read. Be a conscientious consumer. And the same thing goes for when you're reading reports. And this will happen to you even when you're in your internships. When you're reading reports, be sure that the data that those reports are based on was a random collection and not biased. all researchers can be biased, and they can look at data the way they want to look at it if they're not ethically driven. I can take a set of data. I used to tell my students in my statistics class that I can take a set of data and I can make it say whatever you want it to say, the same data. It's all in how you analyze it. It's all in how you write your questions, how you do your methodology. So you need to be very careful that everything is on the up and up before you believe something sensationalized. Now, that's my little soapbox on statistics. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, let me pop back over here for a minute. All right, I see something in the chat here. Okay, I hope you, Oluwaseum, I hope I said that right, is taking it now, and I really think that'd be a great class to teach. I think that there's a lot of things you can do with that class. So, great. Okay, so these are just designing a sample on how what you're going to do for, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. You're going to be, when you take the class, you will be learning all this from the bottom up. I do want to make a comment about questionnaires. When you design a questionnaire, and this could go for the needs assessment that you're going to be doing for your last project. I like the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, you know, because it's, if you make a questionnaire too detailed or too entailed or, you know, too hard to understand, people aren't going to answer it. They're just going to put any kind of answer. They're just like what Stephen was doing on that video, just clicking any kind of answer. So be sure that when you make any kind of questionnaire for any kind of survey, that it's with something people can understand. Don't use terminology that seems, terminology, you know, you students don't realize it, but y'all have learned a lot of medical and healthcare terminology that the average person just doesn't know on a daily basis. And when you're creating surveys, you're not realizing that it's very common to you, but it may not be common to your target group. So be sure that you keep your, you know, the way you ask your questions, the terminology that you use, very simple, because you're spending all that money and all that time. You want the best possible chance at some good data. And, you know, that can be a problem if you make it your questionnaire too detailed or too entailed. You know, one thing that irritates the living daylights out of me is when after you leave, for instance, CVS, they always send you these, they call it a 1-minute survey. Please take our 1-minute survey. And so you click on 2 or 3 questions, then all of a sudden you're shot to a page that's more like 20 minutes and you can't submit it, you know, unless you finish the whole thing. And I always just back out of it because first off, I'm irritated because they told me it was 1 minute and it wasn't. And, you know, second off, it's just too much time. I don't have that kind of time to invest in that. So keep that in mind when you, you know, when you're giving out surveys. If you have a budget, like when I did my dissertation, I gave students who took part in my study, I gave them Cold Stone Creamery coupons or gift certificates in order to participate. You run a better chance of getting participation if they have something to gain from it. Jack in the Box, if you go through there and you take their survey within 24 hours, you get a free hamburger. So, you know, bear that in mind when you're looking at surveys in the future. Okay, let's see what else we got. Again, we've talked about qualitative, quantitative. I'm going to come out of here almost through that, and I'm going to stop sharing and ask you if you have any questions. This chapter 5, the quiz is will be open on Thursday and close on Sunday. Then you also have the assignment, the Navigate 2 assignment, and then you have your group contract due. Now, there's only 5 minutes left. I'm going to open the boxes for you to self-select in the breakout room for you to self-select into it. But if you need to meet for a few minutes in order to, I don't know, set a plan on your contract or whatever you need to do. But first I need to know, does anybody have any questions? Are we clear on the Navigate? Are we, you got a good understanding or an intro to chapter 5? Any questions?
I had a question. Maybe I just missed it in syllabus, but I just wanted to double check. It's our presentation for the group project. Is it a verbal presentation, or are we doing a slideshow and a one-page summary with the flyer?
Okay, the presentation for the first one, the social media one, you do have to present, and the PowerPoint is what you'll be using to present, and that's, you just have to upload that to the Dropbox ahead of time, so I have an idea of what you're doing. But with that particular presentation, it's only 5 to 7 minutes, but I'd like for everyone to have some part in it. And then you upload the one page to both to the discussion board and to the Dropbox, so that the students, your teammates, can comment on your one-page handout, and because everybody has to comment on everybody else's. So there's 5 groups, so you'll be commenting on 4 other ones. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then the flyer, I think that was in there. Is that also another?
That's the one-page handout.
That is the one-page handout. Okay. So is it just like a written one page, or do we need to add pictures? Is it like a real flyer?
Yes, it's going to be like a real flyer. Be creative. Everything y'all turn in for me, I like to see creativity and thinking outside the box. It'll have, like, for instance, if you're doing YouTube, let's say, I don't know if anybody's in here is doing that, I can't remember. You might have a still shot from a YouTube video of the hospital using it for something. You could also use graphics that come from the YouTube. You can do it can either be like a pamphlet, or it can be one page front and back. It can only be one page, but don't just have straight writing. It needs to be something that someone